Hey, what's up? Dr. Prodigal coming to you from a new device, I guess, and everything like that. But I was just thinking on some things and really, I'm having a conversation with someone about Christians becoming involved in politics. Well, I don't know what the problem is now. Why can't a Christian be in politics? So are you saying all politicians are crooks? But yet God is telling you when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. So there has to be someone in power. And just because you're a Christian does not mean that you won't have to make some hard decisions secular. Why do I say that? Let's give an example of the death penalty. Okay, as a Christian, I don't want to be part of the death penalty. Why? Not because, I don't think that some people don't have remorse and they probably would be better out of this earth. And I'm not going to get into the theological thing about thou should not kill because God also said that there's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. We remember that when we want to remember it. So I was just looking at someone who I've learned to admire and I've just observed. And being a registered Republican, that does not mean that I get into all the idiotic stuff that's going on. I'm actually independent with Republican conservative values, or progressive Republican, as many would say at times. So here's the problem that I have. We have people that are so conservative that they ain't got common sense. Why do I say this? They want to impose the Bible on the Constitution. Sadly, the Constitution is not a theological document. So there in itself lies a problem. While we're saying America was a Christian nation, I doubt if America was ever a Christian nation. America was a nation that was predominantly Christian in belief, but we've had Muslims. Matter of fact, some of the signers of our historical documents, they were universalists. Oh, we forgot about that. Let's do a little bit of study on everything as well about America being a Christian nation. Let's go and see how the Jews helped finance the Revolutionary War. Let's see how Muslims were also here as well. We can get into the Africans that were born here. There's some were Christian, some were Muslim, and some just had their own religion. So here we are with all these different religions here. Let's not get into the Catholic Church next, because then that opens up a whole nother can of worms. Am I upsetting you yet? I hope so. So here's the dilemma. Something I read and is bothering me that people forget this is in the Bible. I'll tell you where it is after I read it. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same, for he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is God's minister and avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. I just quoted Romans 13th chapter, verses 1 through 4. Now, I know y'all gonna come out with this nonsense that this fool talking about Donald Trump. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm talking about anybody that God ordained to be in power. Anybody. They're there to do good. Now, whether they do good, that's a whole different ball game. That's why we have a wonderful voting system, and now we have over 90%. I'm going to say about 90% of Congress that's up for re-election. May do something. The president is only one person. Congress is something different. So, who am I talking about with this? It's a man that I've learned to admire. I've watched from afar. His name is Senator Chris Coons. I know people gonna come at me with that. I could care less. Don't even try it. He's the only one that I know of in Congress that has both a law degree and a degree in divinity. And neither one of them are from backyard schools. Both of them from Ivy League, if I'm not mistaken. I've watched on some things that he has voted on. People say, well, how could he do that if he's a Christian and he's this? Let's take a step back. We have two types of authority. Well, actually, you have more than two, but I'm just going to address two now. You have spiritual authority, and you also have civil authority. They're not the same. Spiritual authorities is calling those things out of the heavenlies, the spirit realm, putting the spirit realm in check. Yet, in your civil authority, it's a whole different thing. You have to deal with the laws of the land. Okay, so let's go back to the death penalty. Personally, I, as a man of God, cannot condone death penalty. I, as a civil servant, can acknowledge the death penalty because the law states it, even though I personally don't like it. Let's touch on something else that's very hot subject right now. Same-sex marriage. Yeah, I'm going to go there. We got to start thinking about this stuff as the church. You know, that's why we can't get nobody in church, because we won't go out of church. So here it is. Same-sex marriage was passed as a law. Look at what happened. Now, as you say that everything, now, this is what, let me slow down for a second. I'm getting ready to get there. Everybody wants to blame the current president for everything that went on before he got there. There's only two good presidents we've ever had. The one we just got, the one we just had, or the one we getting ready to get. That's it. After George Washington, there were only two good presidents. It was either George or who was coming next. That was it. And that's the same thing here now. And while I'm at it, I can't quote it completely, but I think it's 108 Psalm somewhere. Don't no black person clown now, because there was a lot of worship of Barack Obama as well, to the point that you were wearing stupid shirts around with Psalm 108, I forget which verse, it said, let his days be few and let another take his office. Because you didn't even read the Bible. Really? So now here we come. We got the next president. Okay, I don't care what you think about him. Guess what? God ordained it that he be there. God ordained it that he's there to supposedly do right, and we're supposed to do right as well. Then we shouldn't be scared. So what are we saying? We're blaming him right now for something that should have happened a long time ago. If we step outside the Bible and Sunday school manuals, we start looking at things like economics and sociology, psychology, some of everything, marketing, business. We need to do that. So we find out that really America should have had a recession about every 5 years. How long has it been? We going on 12 years. You think something's getting ready to jump off? But I don't know why you're tripping, because I'm an American. I know the recession's going to come. It may even be a depression. But guess what? America ain't my source. America's a resource. Yahweh, Jehovah, El Shaddai, my source. Everything else is a resource. So now let's go back over to this thing of civil and spiritual authority. I watched Senator Combs deal with something that was very hard, the issue of abortion. Yet, he followed the laws of the land to the point of voting some things because it was already law. The same as same-sex marriage. This president who signed it and said he evolved after speaking to his teenage daughters, I'm not condemning him or condoning him. I'm saying what he did was exercise civil authority. People cannot come at him spiritually. So now, what do we think about this? The death penalty. As a man of God and all the inequities that are there, and as a black man, knowing that we technically get put to death a whole lot quicker than other people. Okay, I don't want to follow that. But yet the law of the land, if I had to sit on a panel with someone that went out and axe chopped 39 people and spread them all over, the parking lot of Toys R Us or something, that's some serious stuff. Am I going to block a death penalty? No. But am I going to run out and, research it and want to push it? Probably not. But as the law of the land said, because of the act, we must do this. Then I must honor the law of the land, because had he not went out there with a baby machete and trying to make a meat chop out of half the population of a trailer park, then maybe I wouldn't have to deal with this. But since I do, then I'm going to follow the laws of the land as close as I can. So how does that, relate over to the other side, same-sex marriage? First of all, it's not affecting me. Why? I'm married to a woman. So squash that right there. The other part, nobody lives in my house that lives in that lifestyle. The third part, love my neighbor as myself. Well, let me go back. Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, body, everything. And then love your neighbor as yourself. Well, the problem with that is that many of us have not learned to really love ourselves. So it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to love our neighbor as ourselves if we've never loved ourselves. We got to get back to it. Now, who is my neighbor? Jesus said it's that Samaritan. Do you realize that the Samaritan was pretty much equal to anything that's against what we feel is America's society? The Samaritan was even close in beliefs to the Jewish people. Yet the Jewish people hated them because they called them slackers, mixed, all of this. But yet the Samaritan's still your neighbor. So do I agree with many lifestyles? No. Am I going to condemn anyone? Actually, no. I'm not going to condemn them because God didn't condemn me. Oh, yeah, you can go in and get your Bible and thump it all you want and talk about, well, he said this. First of all, the Bible is not by any private interpretation. Next of all, before the foundation of the world, the Lamb was slain. So it was already put in place. Now it's up to us to choose. But how can we choose if we're still being judgmental on other people? Well, when you go out there and you judge that person that's having premarital sex, or even a person drunk laying outside in this hot air. I mean, it's hot as fish grease out there too. He out there doing all that and you judge, they going to hell. I ain't saying who going to hell. Why? Because I realized in meditation that I could do nothing to get to heaven apart from accepting the sacrifice and the path that's there. Many paths will come to God. Yes, I said it. Oprah says it too. People get mad when I say Oprah's actually telling the truth. There are many paths to God, but there's only one path into him. So let's clear that up quick. Some people come to God through tragedy. Some people come to God because they need a spiritual awakening. Some people come to God because they give up a foxhole prayer. Whole lot of those is in the army. Let one of them rounds go off around you. Oh, Lord, help me. Wait a minute, dude, you was an atheist. Don't let him get shot. Have somebody get shot. I'm an atheist. I ain't worried about it. I take my own. As soon as that fool got shot, he's talking about, oh, Lord. And I stuck my hand. What? Wait a minute, who you talking to? Now you bleeding and schizophrenic. What's up? So we have to understand that what's here in this land right now is actually a blessing. Why? Because now a lot of people are feeling okay to say whatever they want on both sides of the fence. So you get a chance to look at everybody and see what it is. I had someone tell me that, and I just kind of shook my head because if this is what they're teaching in seminaries right now, we in the world of hurt. If this is where you think you're supposed to get your training. The person told me that the president was the devil incarnate. Well, being that I'm not going to take a side one way or the other on anybody's thoughts, the only ones that I need to deal with is mine, and sometimes they can be too much. I asked him, if he's the devil incarnate, then why would God say to pray for those in authority and he's not the Antichrist? And even then, God never told us to pray for the Antichrist. He said that we're going to be gone before he get here. So I'm listening to her to pray for the devil incarnate. Then turn right around in the same voice and said, but I pray for them. So not only are you theologically wrong, you just throw it off. Because God never told you to pray for the devil. He said, resist the devil. And he said, pray for him. So if this is the devil incarnate, and since we can go a lot of different logical, not necessarily theological, but logical ways with this. Okay, well, Jesus was God incarnate. Did you pray for him? He prayed for us, but we didn't pray for him. So why would I pray for the creation of him, who he said not to pray for and resist? You see how screwed up we can be, church? And through all of this, we worrying about laws in the land. We worrying about this and the Christian this and the Christian that and taking this and all of these different things that's happening. We need to get back into the Word of God, hear what God is hollering at us about, and put it to work. Okay, we ain't never going to have politicians that's going to be kicks and giggles. When we do, I'd be scared. If we do, in my lifetime, I'm going to be sad. Why? Because that means I got left behind. So, I'm here again to tell you there is a difference between civil and spiritual authority. The moment if I step in a civil position, my faith comes with me, my morals come with me, my core values come with me, but my authority is much different civilly than it is spiritually as a man of God. I want you to think about that. And if you got any questions, go check out Joseph. Matter of fact, go check out Daniel with his castrated self that was forced to do everything. And then finally, he served more than one king. With his wisdom and castrated, he was made a eunuch. Let's check with Nehemiah, the cupbearer. Okay, let's come on to New Testament. Let's talk about Cornelius, a centurion. Could it be that Cornelius was also that centurion that was at the cross and looked up and said, surely this man is the Son of God? Could it be that he was the commander over those troops? Something to think about, And now here it is. He was doing more than anything else and had to deal with the racism and the prejudice of the church through Peter. God had to square Peter away in order for the Gentiles to have an opening to be grafted in. So let's think about this thing. Let's think about it. If Cornelius understood, or the centurion that Jesus dealt with understood, he said, just speak the word and my servant will be healed. Could that have been Cornelius as well? And what did he do? He understood civil authority, but he also understood spiritual authority. He understood civil authority, that all I got to do is say this in this realm and it happens. I tell him to come, he come. I tell him to go, he go. I tell this one to do a gorilla flip, he get a banana and turn. But then he knew that that same authority he had on earth had nothing to do with Jesus, and all Jesus had to do was speak that word in the heavenlies. And before he could get back to his servant was healed. And even Jesus said then, I have not seen this kind of faith in all of Israel. So we need to think about what we're doing and begin to think before we speak and then act. God bless you, Dr. Prodigal. We getting ready to have an in-gathering soon. Soon, I'll be announcing it. Everyone from Africa, from England, from Dominican Republic, from Massachusetts. Yes, I'm calling you from Massachusetts, from Georgia, from California, and a couple other places. Minnesota, I forgot that because I ain't thrilled with the cold out there. It's so cold out there, the roaches wearing overcoats in the wintertime. But we're getting ready to have that. And I want you all to give some thought to something. Now is coming the time that the spiritual and the civil are really starting to separate even more so. So choose ye this day whom you will serve. But wherever you serve, whom you serving, you better serve him under the laws of the land and under the mighty hand of God. God bless you. I'ma holler at y'all later.